of Bhagavatam, and I presume you can see, I presume everyone can see the screen which I've shared.
Yes.
I was good and I did a bookmark. I think we're beginning text 5. So last week we kind of ended up just more or less reading, similar to what we was doing with Venu Gita. I mean, we can do that style if we like, or shall I invoke questions and some discussion during the purport?
Questions and discussion will be better because everyone can take part and they can.
Yeah,
Have a better understanding.
Okay, so what we'll do is, well, let me just have a quick, the purports coming up are relatively small, just checking. So perhaps we can, why don't we do this? Let's identify some points from the purports that we find some reflections on, or you might find important, or any questions or any clarifications. Should we try like that?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, good to get involved.
Because then everybody can take part in it.
Yeah. Okay, let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada before we begin. Namo Om Vishnu Vara Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachalini Nivasesha Sunyavari Pashtatara Satanine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna.
Is the sound gone? Sound is gone?
Yeah, I think from Murli Prabhu's end, there is no sound.
Murli Prabhu is gone. Can't see Murli Prabhu either.
I was thinking it was me. I got out and I came back.
Okay, so far recording in progress. So far Sanatana Goswami is offering his Mangalacharan prayers. So prayers to invoke auspiciousness before he actually begins to narrate Bhagavatam. That's the first, makes up 10 or 12 texts. So in the first text, he's glorifying the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the second text, he glorifies Radharani. Then he glorifies Lord Chaitanya as being in the mood of Radharani and descending to this material realm by his causeless mercy. And then in text 4, he's glorifying Mathura, the district of Mathura, in which is situated Vrindavan, as the holiest of the holiest dhams. So now we begin text 5. So Sarcha, we can read, I think there was a request that we could read the Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps Sarcha, you did quite well in reciting the Sanskrit sloka to begin with. I haven't learnt the meter for this as yet. I can't remember the meter, but perhaps if you can start, Sahachari.
Okay, thank you. Jayati Vrindaranyam etan murare priyatamam ati sadhu swanta vaikunta vasat ramyati sa sadaga palayan yatra gopi swarita madhura venur varathayan Prema rase. All glories to this place where we are living. Lord Murari's Vrindavan Forest. He prefers residing here to residing in Vaikunta or in the hearts of elevated saints. In Vrindavan, while always tending his cows, he gives pleasure to the gopis, whose love for him in the mood of the rasa dance he increases by sweetly playing his flute. Commentary. Srila Vrajabhumi, the most sacred part of Mathura district, is where the Supreme Personality of Godhead displays his exceptionally sweet pastimes within Vrajabhumi. 3 places are very special. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam first mentions these 3 places where Krishna and Balaram move from Mahavan to avoid the dangers developing there. Vrindavanam Govardhanam Yamuna Pulina Naicha Vikas Yasid Uttama Priti Rama Madhurya Vayor Rupa. O King Parikshit, when Rama and Krishna saw Vrindavan, Govardhana, on the banks of the river Yamuna, they both enjoyed great pleasure. Bhagavatam 10.11.36. Since these 3 places are most dear to Krishna, Srila Sanatana Goswami praises them, beginning with Sri Vrindavana, in the hope of getting their mercy. Jayati, all glories, is repeated in this verse to express the super excellence of Vrindavan and the great joy the author feels in glorifying Vrindavan. Again, the proximate pronoun is used, etat, this, to indicate that Srila Sanatana Goswami was living in Vrindavan Forest while writing this book. In Vrindavan, the Supreme Lord displays a special beauty and loving mood he shows nowhere else. Therefore, the Lord's most expert devotees are more pleased by his presence in Vrindavan than by his presence in Vaikuntha or in the hearts of the yogis. Krishna is eternally perceivable for his perfect devotees in Vrindavan, which is supremely attractive for them because of his unequal beauty and the endless flow of the all attractive pastimes he displays there. No such love, no such overwhelming ecstatic experience is found in the heart of a yogi or in the official kingdom of God. Sometimes the personality of Godhead is present in his other abodes without showing himself, but never so in Vrindavan. As mentioned in regard to text 4, Lord Hari is always present in Mathura, Nityam Sannihito Hari, but the word for present Sannihita can also be understood to mean hidden. In Mathura, the Lord, although present, may be hidden. In contrast, even after Krishna and Balaram transferred themselves to Mathura, the ladies of Mathura describe the Lord's wandering throughout Vrajabhumi in the present tense, implying that he was still manifest there, as he is now and always. Punya Bhata Vraja Bhuvo Yad Ayam Hi Niringa Ghuda Purana Purusho Vana Chitramalaya Ghapalayan Sabhala Kvanayam Shavenum Vikridayanti Chaita Giritra Rama Chinta Griha. How pious are the tracts of land in Vraja, for there the primeval personality of Godhead, disguising himself with human traits, wanders about enacting his many pastimes. His feet are worshipped by Lord Shiva and Goddess Rama, adorned with wonderful variegated forest garlands. He vibrates his flute as he tends the cows in the company of Balaram. Bhagavatam 10.44-13. As described by Srila Sanatana Goswami in the current verse, Krishna is always busy tending his cows in the Vrindavan forest. At the same time, he manages to keep the gopis, headed by Sri Radhika, immersed in complete happiness by always finding opportunities to engage with them in the rasa dance and other loving pastimes. When he plays his flute, whose charming sound attracts the entire universe, his outward purpose is to call the cows, but simultaneously he awakens the gopis' anticipation of their later enjoyment with him. Certainly his main purpose in playing his flute is to increase the gopis' ecstasy, since expanding the enjoyment of loving exchanges with the devotees in this land and other relationships is the ultimate reason for his appearance on earth. Herding cows and flirting with young girls are but means to this end.
I'm muted again. Hare Krishna. All right, so Sanatana Goswami, this book is quite rasic or esoteric. He's beginning his Mangala Charan, by glorifying Radharani, Lord Chaitanya, and the topmost abode, which is Vrindavan. That's the Lord's favorite place. Any other questions here or reflections? Rajbhumi is, the 3 places are special. What are they?
Mathura, Gokul, Vrindavan.
It doesn't, within Rajbhumi, 3 places are special. The 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam first mentions these 3 places. Actually, that's Vrindavan, Govardhan, and the Yamuna.
Ah,
Yeah, he's quoting from the 10th canto. And this is where Sanatana Goswami is writing this, actually. Where in Vrindavan anyone know where in Vrindavan he actually is? Perhaps he has 6. Is it Govardhan? I'm not sure.
Might be Govardhan.
Could well be Govardhan. Yeah.
what did you say it was? What did you say it was? Govardhan,
Yeah, the
Vrindavan,
verse-
and Yamuna, right?
Yeah, the verse, you see the verse here, which I'm highlighting. Yeah, this is the verse there. Oh, sorry, we're on, yeah, I've gone forward a bit. Just looking back. Yeah. So he's offering actually respects to the land of Vrindavan. He's praying to Vrindavan for mercy, for reciting this great transcendental narration.
If he's at Govardhan, then the Yamuna is not nearby. Yamuna is a bit far away.
Is it? Perhaps he's not there then.
In those days, Yamuna was very close to Govardhan.
Quite possible,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So anything else on this? It's we could comment on each sentence, but mainly glorifying Vrindavan. Wonderful Purple, isn't it? By Gopi Pranadhana.
Yeah.
Really kind of expands this. All glories to the place where we are living. Lord Murari's Vrindavan Forest.
Actually, Prabhu, I felt it's like a summarize. He said, no such overwhelming ecstatic experience is found in the heart of a yogi or in the official kingdom of God.
Yeah, that was interesting, isn't it?
So that is a clear definition of the
Yeah.
Vrindavan, I felt.
No such overwhelming ecstatic experience is found in the heart of a yogi or in the official kingdom of God. So the official kingdom of God is, what's the name of that?
That is Dwar.
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha, yeah, I was saying Dwar.
Yeah, the official kingdom of God.
Yeah.
So,
So I felt this is the other way. It is explaining about Vrindavan.
yeah. So there's wonderfully sweet pastimes is displayed between Krishna. And he mentions at the end there, his appearance herding cows and flirting with young girls.
Yeah, these two. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to text 6. Any readers out there?
May I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please. Text 6. Yeah. Try your best to read the verse.
Okay. Jayati Tarani Putri Dharma Raja Swasaya Kalayati Mathuraya Sakhya Matyeti Gangam Murahara Daita Tat Pada Padma Prasutam Vahati Cha Makarandam Nira Pura Chalina. Translation: all glories to Sri Yamuna, the daughter of the sun god and sister of Yamraj. She is beloved of Krishna, the killer of Murra. She has made friends with Mathura district and has extended the greatness of Ganga Devi. On the pretext of being a river, she carries the nectar flowing from Lord Shri Krishna's lotus feet. Commentary. Yamuna, the holiest of rivers, is the ornament of Sri Vrindavan Dham. As the daughter of Vivaswan, the sun god, she has inherited the power to illuminate the world, and as the sister of Yamraj, the king of death, she is also the dispenser of perfect justice. Tracing an attractive winding path through Mathura district, she befriends that Holy Land on several sides. She is the greatest of all holy bathing sites, exceeding in sanctity the Ganga, as Lord Varaha describes in the Varaha Puran. Ganga Sat Guna Prokta Mathure Mama Mandale Yamuna Vishruta Devi Natra Karya Vicharana Tasya Shataguna Prokta Yatra Keshi Nipatita Keshiya Shatguna Prokta Yatra Vishramito Hari. 100 times more sacred than the Ganga, O goddess earth, is the Yamuna in my own abode Mathura. No one need doubt this. More sacred than Mathura by 100 times is the place on the Yamuna where the Keshi demon fell, and 100 times more sacred than the Keshi Tirth is the spot nearby where Krishna rested after killing the demon. After the demon was killed. Why is the river Yamuna so exceptional? Because she is especially dear to Shri Krishna. She assists in his pastimes in Gokul, in Mathura, and even in Dwarka. She originates from the lotus feet of Krishna, and so on. The pretext of carrying her current of water, she distributes the honey of intimate Krishna devotion, honey that has a rare sweet taste. Anyone who somehow or other takes shelter of her is at once blessed with relief from material distress and nourished with spiritual satisfaction.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just remembering that actually it's Gopi Pranadana who's actually residing in Govardhan.
Yes, probably you're right. Yeah, that's where it's writing. Yeah.
Because you mentioned I'm blessed to be situated in that holy place of Govardhan while I'm writing this, when I'm translating and commenting on the Bhagavatam Gita. Yeah. So so now the Yamuna is being glorified, and especially where the Kasi demon fell, and 100 times more sacred is a spot where Krishna rested after the demon was killed.
Yeah, that place is called Vishram Ghat.
All right, okay.
And everybody goes there. Even Lord Chaitanya started his tour of Vrindavan from Vishram Ghat.
That's the place you should start Parakram, or it's just a place to visit on Parakram?
I think they start from there. Loknath Swami begins from somewhere in Mathura, so it must be Vishram Ghat.
Vishram Ghat is on Vrindavan, Parikram.
Okay.
It's on Vrindavan Parikram.
Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting there in front.
Yeah, I'm not so, I haven't been to Vrindavan so often, so probably some of you have been much more than me. So you can perhaps help us here a little bit if you're familiar with these spots. Also, I keep going back. And
when we did Parikrama last time in 2018, we started at Vishram Ghat.
Okay, you started.
I mean, Mathura, yes. That's where everybody goes to Mathura first. From Vrindavan, they walk down, and then that's where they start from. That's what we did.
So Sanatana Goswami, he's offering obeisances. to the daughter of the sun god, Yamuna, who happens to be the sister of who?
Yamaraj.
Raj.
Yamaraj, yeah, the king of death.
Mm.
Anyone know the story? Anyone know any of the story? How that? What's behind that? Yamuna is the sister of Yamaraj. That's right. A fascinating story behind it. How the brother is in charge of death, and she's in charge of life-giving devotion.
Prabhu is also known as Dharamraj, which is Yudhishthir.
Yeah, he came
They're
and
all the same.
yeah.
Gosh, there is a story. I just can't remember it. I'm trying to really think. No, there's a story why his son, Sandhya and Chaya were the two wives of Suryadev.
Go on, yeah.
Okay.
These were his children, but I don't know. I think they were his children, and she was called Yamuna. Why? Because I think it was moon god who tried to kidnap her to get married.
Okay.
And that's when she said, you know, that I'm so pure. I mean, I'm getting mixed up, but that's
the basic story.
Yeah, that's the basic story that I know.
Yeah. Anyway, Yamuna is being glorified here, and Sanatana Goswami is paying obeisances to Yamuna now. So Mathura, then he gets more specific. And next he's going to glorify Govardhan.
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll go to Govardhan Hill.
Teach.
I saw Lavanga Latika had a hand up. You can read text 7. Over.
Yeah, okay. Govardhano Jayate Saila Sukla Drajo Yogopi Kabir Udito Haridasa Varya Krishnena Sakamakavanga Kir Chitoya Saptaham Asya Karapatma Talepya Bhavasat. All glories to Govardhan, the emperor of lordly mountains. The Lord's dear gopis called him the best servant of Hari, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna disrupted the sacrifice for worship of Indra to worship Govardhan instead, and then the hill resided for a week on the Lord's lotus palm. Commentary. Although Sri Govardhan currently appears as a long, low hill, he is actually the greatest of mountains, surpassing in glory the Himalayas, Sumeru, and all other mighty ranges and peaks. Exceeding the power of any mere mountain, he serves Krishna in Krishna's personal abode in several intimate ways. He pleases Krishna so much that the gopis of Raj have singled him out for praise. And Dayamudrir Ahala Hara Dasyadarvo Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparsa Pramuda Manam Tamoti Sahago Ganayos Taroryat Paniya Surya Vasa Kundura Kandamulai. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. O friends, for Krishna and Balaram, along with their calves, cows, and cowherd friends, this hill supplies all necessities: caves, fruits, flowers, vegetables, water for drinking, and very soft grass. In this way, the hill offers respects to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan hill appears very jubilant. Bhagavatam 10:21-18. Though the residents of Nandavraj had arranged offerings for the annual sacrifice to Indra, Sri Krishna reciprocated with Giri Govardhan by diverting these offerings to the unprecedented Govardhan Puja, in which the residents of Vraj worshipped Govardhan, the cows, and the Brahmanas by offering mountains of food and circumambulating Govardhan hill. When Indra felt insulted and tried to destroy Vrajbhumi with a terrible rainstorm, Krishna easily lifted Govardhan with his left hand and held Govardhan aloft for 7 days to protect his devotees. Thus he proved that Govardhan hill is greater than the king of heaven. This wonderful pastime is elaborately described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 24-27.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we might be familiar this verse. We chant this verse when we're worshipping our Govardhan Shila, this glorification of Govardhan, as being this verse is spoken, the verse which is quoted in the purple. This verse here, this is spoken by Radharani, and she's glorifying Govardhan as Haridasya Vayu. This is written, this is spoken in the Venu Gita, if you remember. So Haridasya Vayu as the greatest of Lord's servants, Haridasya Vayu. Yeah. Then there's discussion of the between the gopis, because to say he's the best, that means so one of the gopis say, Radharani, we have to be careful, because that means you are slighting other great devotees. So you are saying indirectly that they are not the best. So can you substantiate your words? And then she begins to quote from Sastra and scripture glorifying Govardhan and Haridasya Vayu. So he's the greatest devotee of the Lord, because he gives his whole self, his whole body. And that's the translation of the verse. You see? He gives his whole self, he gives his whole existence in the service of Krishna and Balaram. So this is the mood that Prabhupada recommend that we worship. This is one way that you can worship Govardhan, Haridasya. But then there's but then you see our Govardhan has a flute and peacock feather. So we're worshipping him as Krishna. So which one's correct? Do we worship him as Haridasya, or do we worship him as Krishna? Anyone have Govardhan Shilas out there? Me, Hi Puru, do you have Govardhan Shila?
He's both though, isn't he?
How do you worship? Do you worship him as Krishna? You need to, you're muted.
Krishna, yes.
You worship, so you put the flute.
I don't know where I am.
No, we can hear you now. So you worship as Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Sanatana Goswami himself, he there's some really beautiful prayers where he worships Govardhan. He worships Govardhan as Krishna, actually. But Radharani here is referring to Govardhan as Haridasya, as a servant of Krishna. So this is a bit of a transcendental disagreement amongst some Vaishnavas. I know Madhavananda Prabhu has a whole, one of his books, you know those books he has?
Yeah.
Writes these books, beautiful little magazines.
Krishna Karna.
Yeah, Krishna Karnamrita. And one of those is dedicated to Govardhan. And the emphasis is that Govardhan is worshipped as a great devotee. So therefore we can get, so to get the mercy of Krishna, we get the mercy of his devotees, and Govardhan can be approached in that way. But Prabhupada said in Krishna book that we should worship Govardhan as Krishna. So you can take, so the conclusion is he is both. So you can, there is both, there is philosophical justification for worshipping him as a servant, Haridasya, like the gopis do, and as the Lord himself. So generally in temples, you will see Govardhan will have a flute, at least from what I've seen. So anyway, a little interesting, one of the, and also Prabhupada didn't allow devotees to worship Govardhan in the temples. That's another interesting deity worship discussion. Prabhupada, when someone brought Govardhan, then he told them to take him back to Govardhan hill. So sometimes we're asked about that. Because every temple, well, not every temple, but many temples have Govardhan. But it's not, it's a deity that Prabhupada didn't give any specific directions to a worship. In fact, he gave the opposite. So are we doing the right thing in our temple by worshipping Govardhan? They worship Govardhan in Mayapur as well, and in Uvajdan. So anyone can help us in this transcendental dichotomy?
I think if I can say something, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please.
I think if you have a lot of love, then you are allowed, because he didn't allow everyone to worship Govardhan. It's like Raganuga Bhakti, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what you are generally, I mean, that is why, because Govardhan is Vrindavan, and Govardhan, there's a Radha Kund, and that's the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna, which actually can be worshipped only on the level of Raganuga Bhakti. All right, but the first point is that I kind of bring up that, yeah, it seems like that's the case. This is what Prabhupada said about Govardhan, but but Govardhan has a gate crashed into ISKCON. he's gate crashed to ISKCON party, and he's here now.
Who brought him first?
I don't know.
Jay Tirso, Maharaji's wife. What's her name?
All right, so you know, yeah.
You know the sannyasi who got his head chopped off, his wife.
Oh my God.
I know her. I know her.
Manjula Mataji.
So you're
Manjulali.
Manjulali.
That's hers.
all right,
Yes,
so
it's
you're
hers.
speaking about our Pacific Govardhan.
Oh yes, I'm speaking about ours. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, that comes from Manjulali.
Yeah.
So anyway, Govardhan's here now, and it looks like he ain't going anywhere else. He wants to stay.
You will know much more than us, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I was asked this question a few months ago by one devotee who was having a discussion about this in one temple, and that's it. That's only what we can conclude. We can conclude. That's why if someone's starting a new temple and they apply, because they have to get certificate of readiness to be allowed to worship deities from the worship ministry. So, like, I know if they put in an application to worship Govardhan, it's not going to get easily approved. Because of that point, Prabhupada didn't give any specific. But as far as worshiping on the level of Raganuga Bhakti, yes, that's there. But generally in our temples, like we worship Govardhan, and the worship that we do is Vaidhi. You know, we worship according to rules and regulations. We offer him certain number of upacharas, you know. But actually worshiping, because worshiping a Raganuga is done within the mind. It's not externally done. It's an internal mood. Yeah. So yeah, it's an internal mood. But most temples that worship Govardhan, they will worship Govardhan like they do other Shalagram Shilas. Yeah.
Prabhu, I remember something. I'm not really vaguely remembering. Once for some talk, Vishal Gauranga Prabhu, he said, when Mayapur, all the offering goes to Govardhan.
Yeah.
And something he really explained, but that's all I remember, honestly speaking. He mentioned something like that.
Yeah, like also when we offer Bhoga, then we take Govardhan's flute off. So we're offering through Govardhan. It gets quite confused but the prayers and the Padyamanachman is offered to Radha Krishna.
Actually, the other Hindu temples, they take Krishna's flute off.
What the big flute, the big Krishna?
When you're offering.
Yeah, we do that with Govardhan.
Okay.
Take his flute off.
Mm.
Actually, today I did a noon program and I forgot to take his flute off. So, he wasn't angry with me. Yeah. But it's something I was going to say also, something else about Govardhan as well. It slipped my mind.
But there was, if I can say something, sorry. Aindra Prabhu was saying if it's golden, you can worship it even as Radharani.
Yeah, there you go. That's another. Yeah.
Or Krishna Balaram. And there was a discussion once in the Krishna Balaram temple. They worship it. If it's Sham, you can worship it as Krishna. And then if it's golden, you can worship it as Radharani.
You're speaking about Govardhan Sheila? Or
Govardhan Sheila, yeah, Govardhan Sheila.
there you go. So there's some other opinions of that.
So Prabhu, can I ask you something, Prabhu?
Yes,
When
yes.
Srimati Radharani says he is the best servant, so
That's Shivaya, yeah.
Haridas Varya, so she's putting herself down then.
Well, that's out of humility, isn't it? Out of divine humility.
So what we can think about it, Prabhu? Who is the best?
Well, Haridasya is also given that term is also given. If you read it, I remember reading the Venu Gita. I'll have to revisit again, but that term is also given to Maharaj Parikshit, I think.
Yeah.
Haridasya. Anyway, as we're actually interesting discussion, because this very book that we are reading, Narada Muni wants to find out that himself. Who is the best devotee? And this whole book he will go on a journey, and each devotee will send him to someone else more advanced than themselves. So that's what Radharani is doing here. She sees everything. She sees clouds as more advanced than her, trees, bees, deer, Aborigine girls, mountains. She sees them being more fortunate than her. The clouds, because they can always see Krishna. They always can take darshan of Krishna, but she can't. She's locked away in her in-laws. She's saying the deer, they can fearlessly approach Krishna, but she can't because of restrictions. Like that. Yes, so Sanatana Goswami is invoking now. Invoking for us, Govardhan. Yeah. All right. Should we read text 8? Let me see if I can see the readers. Otherwise, I'm going to jump in and read. I'm going to. Mihai, did you have your hand up there? You like to read? Go ahead.
I will try if I can see it.
What I do is during the week, I shall try and find out a meter for this verse. I shall try and find a meter, and this will help us all to chant it. But for now, let's do our best, as they say.
Yes, it'd be good if we can set it, then everybody can go into that rhythm.
Yeah.
I can see it here. Could I read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jayati, Jayati, Krishna Prema Bhakti, Yad Angiram Nikila Nigama Tattvam, Gudam Ajnaya Mukti, Bhajati Saranakama, Vaishnavais, Yajanmana Japa, Yajana Tapasya Nishya, Nishtham Vibhaya.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a meter.
All glories to Shri Krishna Prema Bhakti, knowing that the feet of Prema Bhakti secretly comprise all the truths of the Vedas. Liberation herself has come to worship her. Indeed, liberation, abandoned by the Vaishnavas, has now given up her dependence on mantras, penance, sacrifice, and renunciation, and is eager to have the shelter of Prema Bhakti. Commentary. Srila Sanatana Goswami now glorified Bhakti Devi personified devotional service to Shri Krishna and begs her favor. Devotional service to Lord Krishna is always rendered with prema, pure love. In fact, it is the essence bhakti. It's composed of prema, The lesser goal of life aimed at by impersonalist, namely liberation from the circle of birth and death, offers herself to Bhakti as a maid servant. Liberation humbly approaches Bhakti Devi's feet, enable even to look at her face. In other words, liberation follows even the partial practice or devotional service, represented here by the feet of Bhakti Devi. Regardless of a person's motives, even briefly resorting to one of the standards, devotional methods, hearing, chanting, and so on, very soon guarantees liberation from material existence, and without some contacts, devotional service, no other effort can earn liberation. Mukti, liberation personified, it's eager to surrender to Bhakti Devi, because Mukti realized Bhakti's superiority. Bhakti is the essential teaching of the Vedic literature. Liberation therefore rejects the spiritual practice that person in the 4 stages of Vedic culture development used to try to attain her. Traditionally, young celibate students practice japa, the recitation of mantras. Householders perform ritual sacrifices. Retired forest dwellers observe strict penance, and members of the renounced order of life vow never to re-enter family entanglement. But liberation refuses to submit herself even to those who correctly execute the practice with complete sincerity. She makes herself easily available, however, to devotees of Krishna, even though they consider her unimportant and show her little respect. Vaishnavas not only fully realize devotees, but also those who have merely received Vaishnava initiation, have the rare insight that liberation is not very valuable compared with devotional service. Liberation submits herself to the Vaishnava as a humble servant, but they simply ignore her. This has been so in the past, continues to be in the present, and will continue to be in the future, as indicated in this verse by the present tense of the word Tyajyamana. Why then does liberation worship the feet of devotional service? Because she hankers for Bhakti's shelter. Rejected by the Vaishnava and having nowhere else to go, she's anxious for refuge, fearful she might perish. To those who have made even casual attempt to surrender to Krishna, liberation rarely offers herself, but to the foolish materialist who strive to achieve liberation, she shows no favor. She will not even turn her glance toward them. Thus, their chanting, sacrifices, austerities, and renunciation are usually for gaining her. Persons who strive for liberation by this means alone, neglecting devotional service, are most unfortunate, for they have failed to understand the essential truths of the Vedic scriptures.
Okay, thank you. Very nice reading. Thank you, Mihai.
Thank you.
Okay, so just been glorifying Govardhan, now glorifying Prema Bhakti. Any reflections on this or questions? Moksha is the name for liberation. And generally, yogis, as Prabhupada explains, that's their one and only goal of life is moksha. So the goal of life is not Krishna Prema, it's not Krishna Bhakti, it's moksha. Yeah. I'll ask a question. There's a wonderful example of this where let me give you a clue, it might be difficult to get, where liberation from death actually bows down to a devotee. It's in the Bhagavatam. There's one well-known story. Anyone, bit of a test for you, anyone can know what that time is?
He put his foot on the head of liberation and went.
It's Dhruva Maharaj.
Yes, well done. That was a group effort from Chandravali and Lavanga Latika. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, when he was boarding the airplane to take him back to Vaikuntha, take him back to the spiritual world, then death came and bowed down to him, and he stepped on the head of death itself. Yeah. So Moksha humbly approaches Bhakti Devi's feet. It describes here, unable even to look at her face. So Vaishnavas don't separately endeavor for moksha or liberation. And that's considered by Rupa Goswami describes the desire for liberation and for someone on the path of bhakti to desire liberation or sense enjoyment is considered to be like two witches. Quite graphically describes that two witches that are haunting someone. One cannot develop one cannot actually develop prema if one is seeking after moksha, liberation. And liberation, as this was being mentioned here, comes at the beck and call and in service for a devotee. And the devotees, the devotee is not after liberation. What's the different types of liberation?
Sarupya,
Yeah,
Sahajya, Shastri, can't remember all.
yeah. What's the translation?
One who lives on the board, same form.
Same form.
Lives
Same
on the
planet.
board.
Same planet. Same form, same planet, same opulences.
Yeah.
You saw your voice broke up then.
Samipya, closer to the Lord.
Yeah, the Lord's personal association. I think we discussed that, isn't it? I mean, that sounds like how to understand that. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, what devotee would not want to live on the same planet as Krishna, or would not want Krishna's association? So
That
how
is
do we understand that? Huh?
But that was Vaikuntha, where you have the Sarupya and everything. That's not Golok Vrindavan.
Okay, but then it is, you can, there is a liberation where you can take birth on the same planet as Krishna.
Oh.
Yeah. And devotees are not attracted to that, it says. So how to explain that? Anyone?
Because there,
Not there.
Go on. Nimai Mata?
love, there isn't, you can't see love there.
It's awe and reverence.
To be there, there is no love.
Explain more. What do you mean by that? There is no love.
Because it is just, I want to do it, I have to be there. You're not giving yourself to the Lord.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Yeah, you've got,
We're not being servant, right? Is that right? Not being servant?
Yeah, because if you have love only, you will serve. Yeah, correct.
There were two devotees, I think, or few devotees which went to to Vaikuntha, and they wanted to come back to Vrindavan to reborn because they didn't experience the Lord the same, in the same, like serving with all paraphernalia and everything.
That person happens to be Gopal Kumar, which is the second part of this book. Yeah, it's Gopal Kumar who goes on, an odyssey, different spiritual realms, and he goes to Vaikuntha. I think I've heard it described that he wants to go and embrace Vishnu or something, but they say no, you can't do that here.
I know, but he does, and when he does,
yeah.
he sees Gopal, his Gopal.
Yeah,
he
doesn't.
He doesn't. And I mean, when he gets to Vaikuntha, and everybody, they're all around Vishnu, and it was lunchtime, and then Lakshmiji says everybody to go away because it's their lunchtime. And he gets very surprised that why aren't we eating together? He couldn't understand it.
Yeah, that's what they do in Vrindavan, isn't it?
Yeah,
They used to
yeah.
go for a picnic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, very good. So we're going to be reading all about this. This is all coming. Very nice. We've got that to look forward to. But that's what Nimai's Mata says, very good, because it's, you know, yeah, I want to be on this, in one sense, it's, yeah, it's a sense of I-ness. I want this. But actually, devotee, what's that? Christian Swaga Nakari issue. That whether one devotee doesn't mind if he takes birth in the hellish planets or in the heavenly realms, as long as he can serve the Lord. That was by what's that? Who's that devotee who was cursed by Mother Parvati because he was laughing?
Chitraket. No.
Chitraketu.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chitraketu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he took it. He took the curse with folded palms, and Lord Shiva glorified. Yeah, so it doesn't mind taking place.
Is that when he takes birth as Indrajamuna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Rita, sure, yeah.
Oh,
His birthday.
yes.
I'm
Parts
getting
are mixed up, yeah. Rita. But anyway, so that's the idea behind that. Devotees, no, they don't. They're not serving Krishna to actually get any form of liberation. They're just serving Krishna out of love. Of course, devotees will willingly accept going to the Lord's personal abode so that they can express their love through service to him personally. Not, I think I said before, not because it's good weather there. Not just because there's no wars in Goloka, there's no cancer, there's no miseries there. It's a great place. That's not the mood of a devotee. But they would accept going to Vrindavan because Krishna is asking them to come. So in loving obedience to Krishna, they will happily follow his direction and take birth in Braj and serve Krishna, serve Radha and Krishna. But they will serve Krishna even in material world. Like some devotees, their service is to eternally be in the material world, to actually serve Krishna in the worlds of matter. Yeah, and that's their service. Yeah. Anything else on that? That was text 8, wasn't it? I'm just scrolling back and forward a bit. Yeah. What's the time? We've got 2 minutes left. Perhaps we'll stop there. Unless there's any other questions, then we can text 9. We'll glorify the holy name. What's next?
Prabhu, with that 2 minutes, can we talk about this one? Not only fully realized devotees, but also those who have merely received Vaishnava initiation have the rare insight that liberation is not this is very nice. I felt this bit with devotion.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. I mean, we may not be on the levels of Prema.
Yeah.
Or Bhava exactly, but at least because I asked a question and devotees understood. Yeah, like you correctly answered. Yeah, so we may not be fully realized. We may have just be given diksha, but thanks to Rupa Goswami's nectar devotion and reading Prabhupada's purports, we understand that the highest goal is devotional service to the Lord. Yeah, and moksha is not very valuable.
Yeah,
it's not interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a powerful position, moksha, as well. It means you're free from all material pains and tribulations. I mean, it's not a cheap thing to achieve moksha.
But
It comes automatically to a Vaishnava.
Isn't it? Prabhu?
Yeah, but it's nothing like being back home with Krishna.
Yeah, that's it. It's nothing like being and serving Krishna.
Yeah.
still,
Yes.
you're not gonna experience love of Godhead. That's most powerful, more wow.
Just
By
come.
serving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Right, so next week we're going to be speaking. Sanatana Goswami is glorifying the holy name. I like to do this some. Let's just go ahead a little bit, and then that's text 9, quite long purple. Text 10, he will bow down to Lord Chaitanya again.
Indra,
It's
yeah.
coming in a modern age. So this concludes text 10. This will conclude the Mangala Charan. Okay. Concludes. Then we will start here. Then he starts to speak about the history, which is very interesting, of a Brihat Bhagavatam Rita. Yeah? How it came about, how he came to hear it, how he was reciting it, etc. You know. Then it goes on from there, and they're here, and he offers respects to different devotees. Then he begins. There anyway. It begins about here. It begins here. Yeah, Mother Uttara is Maharaj Parikshit's mother. She wants to hear the essence of what Sukadeva Goswami spoke, and then he begins answering. That's the Brihat Bhagavatamrita. All right. So sorry, let's
Yeah.
have
Beautiful.
Once
Thank
yeah,
you.
so next week we'll kick off from text 9 here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining
Thank
us
you.
for this meeting.
Hare Krishna.
Meeting number
Hare
3.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare
Yeah.